Hey, what's going on, everyone? Check out what's coming up this week on Legacies.
We're really about promoting our partners along the way so that by the time, the community gets there, they've seen you, they have an idea of who you are, and it just makes those conversations much easier.
And hit them up soon because they are busy.
I see Rael posting hiring, and I'm like, yeah.
We created this perfect ecosystem that allowed for nature to do what it does best.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Legacies. I'm your host, Tom Ritchie, joined by Wesley the Wizard Bowles. Wes, good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm still full from last night.
The audience is probably going, what the fuck does that mean? Well, we had dinner in Toronto at the Carbon Bar and went with their experience menu, and that food just kept on coming.
That fucking delicious.
But here's
delicious.
the thing, that smoked, so I had no idea about the Carbon Bar. And that smoked brisket or whatever it was stayed on my hands. That smoke smell stayed on my hands forever. But it was so good. Oh my God, it was so good.
I'll be honest too. I've never seen someone kick off a barbecue dinner with a double espresso, but kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Hey, I got that Asahi non-alcoholic beer was $9 fucking. It was
good.
It was good. It was good. It was really good. Now I think I stocked up on Peroni, the non-alcoholic Peroni. Costco was carrying it. They started carrying non-alcoholic beers. And now that it's winter, I got to start finding a stout. I love stouts in the fall and winter. Oh,
okay. If you haven't had them yet, by the way, I had the Kronenberg Blanc last night. It's an old reliable. It's delicious, but it's a summer.
The champagne of beer.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's delicious. But if you want a nice winter stout type drink, you need to have vanilla porter from Mill Street Organic.
I've had it.
Oh my God.
You like that one?
My God.
Yeah, I actually like Collective Arts. Their porter. I forget. Not Ransack the Universe. Maybe it's that. I forget what it is. But anyways, let's remind everyone that Legacies is powered and brought to you by Breadstack Retailers. I don't know how many times I got to tell you, if you are struggling in your e-com game, which I bet the vast majority of you are, it might be time for an upgrade. Hit up Breadstack. Great crew over there.
And hit them up soon because they are busy.
I see Rael posting hiring, and I'm like, yeah. We were joking. We're like, you're welcome. So yeah, get in there quick. Great crew though. I just love those guys. I normally have little notes open here so I know where the hell I'm going, but there's a lot. There's a lot.
Do you want to start with maybe Mr. Michael Elkin?
I love Mike. He somehow got himself into a little bit of trouble, which he shouldn't have. It's not his fault, I don't think. But Health Canada had some issues with some of the posts that I believe he had on Instagram. For those of you that know Mike, the Canada broker, he was doing a Monday. It wasn't even a review, really. I mean, maybe that's what he was titling it. I can't remember, but various products. He would give impressions, bag appeal, that sort of thing. And someone obviously, I'm sorry, you're going to get so mad at me. I'm adjusting shit here. Someone obviously complained. Health Canada isn't sitting there and monitoring, I don't know, maybe, tallest blade of grass situation, right? Who knows? Mike's prominent in the industry. He's been around since the days of Chuck Rafiki and the early days of Tweed. But anyways, whatever it was, I love that he's posting on Instagram his challenges. But there was many. Sorry, go ahead.
I think the part that gets me the most is go after. Yeah, that's smart. Go after the guy who arguably has been one of the people that's helped this legal industry the most from start.
I don't want to say more than any, but I mean, like if we look at top 10s of people that have done something incredible for this industry and connecting people and helping business venture, it is Mike Elkin. There's a reason he's called the Canada broker. He will come on, Health Canada. Like, what the hell? Here's what I want to clarify for everyone, because there was a lot of early on comments on his original post, and it's funny enough, he's just posted an update. But there was a lot of people saying, what are they going to do? You're not an operator. And I get that. I get that if you're unfamiliar with that side of the regulations. We, High Flyer Media, obviously are very close to that side, and they don't care. When it comes to air quote, marketing or promotion or what they would deem inducement, then that's offside. What could they do? Oh man, it's a number of things. They could issue a fine, a penalty of some sort. They technically imprisonment. Would they? No. But I mean, like, come on. And then I joked with you and said, okay, hold on. We see what's going on Instagram. We see what's going on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's even getting hard on people, right? And I asked you even just 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, I said, is this not the same though? If you're not saying, this is the price, this is where it's located, you got to go out and buy it now. And then, some kind of lifestyle banner around it. That's much different than, hey, I tried this product, I liked it. That's it. So if I say that to you and I'm driving back with you from Toronto, like last night, and I'm like, oh boy, I really love Glen's edibles. Oh my God. When we'll get the Glens. I see you're wearing your Glen's hoodie. Oh my, that's a great story, man. Listen, if I said the same thing to you in the car, I love Glen's edibles. You've got to try them. You should check them out. I get it. Completely different circumstances. It's not public, but it's the same thing to me anyways. No. You do not need to be a cannabis operator for Health Canada to have an issue with you. They could have an issue with us. Knock on wood, they haven't. If they did knock on that door, you will have the biggest fight on your hands. And I can tell you, without a word of a lie, there will be 3 very prominent lawyers contacted within minutes, and you will have a lawsuit on your hands immediately. So let's tone it down, HC, focus on what's necessary, push those little complaints to the side. Don't worry about it. Reform is all you need to worry about right now. Reduce some taxation and reform. That's all we need. Just don't worry about anything else. But anyways, Mike being Mike, super nice guy. I love him. He responded to Health Canada. He probably took some posts down. It's shameful. And it's shameful because, this is right on the heels, Wes, of, we're driving back last night and I see Lauren text comes up on the CarPlay, hit play, and it's Lauren sent a message or an image. I'm like, can you look at this? Tell me what it is. And it's a shot of
She said, wait, her exact words were, got any knowledge on this?
Oh, yeah, got any knowledge on this? Yeah.
Before I saw the image, I was like, this is going to be cannabis related. And it's exactly what it is.
Listen, I raise my kids properly. If you have any questions about cannabis, you stay away from friends, you stay away from the bullshit you see on the internet, you come to me and I will direct you in the right direction. And in this case, it was a shot of what is called high rum, HIRUM, rum, with a cannabis leaf on it. Now, it does say on the labeling hemp, and you've got it here. Let me just put this full screen for myself so that, and it was a shot that I guess it was one of her coworkers was asking something about, how high will this get me if I consume it? And I saw it immediately, and you know me, you know this as well. And I'm like, well, it's there's no THC in it. It's not that. I said, and they're making claims of hemp, which it's probably, I'm not chastising this company, Pure Spirits in particular. They're actually close to me in Delhi, Ontario. But I have a major issue with this in general. Okay, so it may be, they're using Canadian hemp through their unique and authentic process. Okay, what does that mean? I don't know. But I do know this. In the vast majority of hemp blends out there, it is hemp seed oil derivatives or distillate of some sort that is being infused into product. What I have an issue with is, in the alcohol side of things, you guys already have it. You have everything you need. You've had reduction in taxation. You have marketing regulations that allow you to promote however you want, but you have to deceive those that are unfamiliar with the actual industry by putting out a product like this. Now, I would have no problem if it just said rum and there was a cannabis, technically a hemp leaf as well, on the bottle. But the fact that you're calling it high rum is deceiving. And it's deceiving to the point where you have people questioning, will it get high or will it get me high? Am I now purchasing this to get me high and drunk at the same time? No, right. You can't do that. So, and I was burning angry with this, right? Mostly because we've got enough issues on our own side to allow this, what are they called? Spirit producers or Bev to creep into this side under deception. You want to have this product out there. You want to keep it named high rum. So be it. Be very clear that it is hemp. And also, there should be a warning. Whoever governs this space, there should be a warning on here, or a disclaimer to say, this product does not contain any Delta-9 or CBD products. That's what it should say. Just clear and simple. That's
even
it.
to me, right on this product page on their website, like you've got GF, which I assume is gluten-free, but then you've got this little cannabis symbol here too that
which again can be hemp. It can be
right,
hemp,
but like you
still.
said, the leaf on the bottle, like you said, one thing, it is technically infused with that hemp, so okay. But this symbol to me, from looking at it from someone who may not know, I'd probably read that instantly and go, oh, there's definitely cannabis in this. Like there's definitely something that's going to get me high.
And that is a very large portion of the population that does not understand the industry. This is what I talk about, those gray areas that confuse. These CBD2 or CB2 products that exist in health food stores or health stores, all the different products that you can find online that say CBD, but they're not actually CBD. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be hard on you, Pure Spirits, but I guarantee we're going to break a clip out from this, and our audience, which are the vast majority of those in the cannabis industry, they're coming at you. They will be. We've got enough challenges of our own. What's going to happen in the future when marketing reform does happen and we are allowed to promote? We will crush all of you in this space. You can take my word for it. We will.
I think it's also like, it's not just the rum either. They've got an entire line. So it's vodka, gin, whiskey. It's
and I know, high can be high. High, no, we know what you're doing. we know what's going on here. This could be great product. I just, I take issue with the fact that it's got I'll say hemp leaf on it, which again, the vast majority of individuals that are kind of curious or on the fringe, they just see a cannabis leaf. They don't know the difference necessarily. And I'm not saying that, those individuals are unintelligent. If that's not the case, there is not enough clarity to fully understand, which is why there's so much effort from those within the industry to work towards reform, to properly promote, to change, to be able to do what we can. You guys got enough. Stay in your lane. Stay over there. Anyways, this works me up so much. It just bothers me. It bothers me because there's so many great companies and great people that are struggling, and they can't even look at Mike. Like, you just tied in with Mike. Can't even say, oh, I can't open a bag on Instagram. I can't put that post out there. That's not allowed. Anyways.
Yep.
Decibel. Decibel is to acquire Agmedica. Interesting.
Correct.
Interesting. Yes. I like it. Depending on which way we go. Rob McPherson have posted, let's hope they know what they're doing. Well, I can't speak to the bottom line. I don't study the financials like Rob does. But I know the crew over at Decibel, and they are smart. They know how to understand the market. They know how to make maneuver their products. They've got great distribution. They're looking at this EU GMP accessibility play to be able to, export product into wherever in Europe. Hey, so be it. Like, I love the Agmedica facility. You remember I had visited that facility many times with Ample Organics when we were trying to figure out how the hell are we going to develop this tech to support micropropagation or tissue culturing. So we worked very closely with their team in those days. But I loved the facility. I loved the crew back then. To me, it's a smart play. Now, I'm not sure I had asked you, I think when I saw this, was Agmedica not part of Atlas Global Brands or something to do with Atlas at one point in time?
I don't know. I have a quick search for it, but I can't remember, honestly. I remember most of everything I remember from Agmedica was responding to their support tickets. That was...
Oh, it says right there. Hold on. Right there on the top line, subsidiary of Atlas Global Brands. Okay, so we know that Atlas has been trying to do some restructuring and get themselves out of some hot water, like all brands. This isn't to be hard on Atlas. Bernie and those guys over there, they're a good crew. Anyways, I think it's smart. I know the leadership team and, well, a lot of the team over at Decibel, which is your general admission, your Quest and such. If anyone's going to make it work, they'll pull it off. I know someone else that could make it work. After our meeting with Mr. Michael Perron of MTL, like that dude is.
Yeah.
Anytime you bring an accountant in, I mean, they're not always the funnest group of people. Mike seems a little different though. A little different. We're gonna have him on as soon as we can arrange it. But just going through his history, the lead up, MTL, his work with M&P. If anyone else could do it, I've got a lot of trust. I'm ready to hand stuff over to him after that meeting. I'm just like, I trust you with everything. Take everything. You want to do my taxes? Anyways, so we got this overwhelmingly beautiful, incredibly awesome care pack from Glen's. You're wearing the hoodie. I think I'd sent you the message, so it gets delivered to our corporate address, and I open it up. I'm like, holy crap. Like, there is this. First, take these hoodies out. And I take the hoodies out, and I'm like, oh my God, why are they soaking wet? What happened to the package? And then I realize they're not wet. They're just really high quality. And I'm not joking. Like, I handed it to my wife, and I'm like, feel this. So open the box. I'd never tried Glen's. You've tried one of them previously. I've always wanted to. They were just never in my area. So when they reached out,
I tried a couple of them before, and previously, like, my favorites from them were the amber Hawaiian slaps. Those are
and that's what. Yeah. So they sent over. Listen, I got to go through the story because I want to do it justice. I'm not against edibles, right? Or I wasn't. Let me say I wasn't. For me, it wasn't. I always loved rosin heads, caramel sticks and stuff like that, salted caramel. I love that stuff. But I wasn't huge into the gummy space because one, the flavors, while did a good job, but for Glen's, they're different. Like, they're different. I have a sweet tooth. So non-infused, as you can see, you've got it up on the screen right now. You'll probably post that. These, thanks a lot, Glen's. I'm now addicted to these. And here's how I know they're good without even trying them. I had opened a pack and I handed it over to my wife, and I was reading or something, and then I hear, bubble gum. I think that's what it was. Bubble gum. Yeah, and I'm like, what? And I turn over and she's snacking on some of these non-infused ones. Thank God they make these, because I would sit, honestly, and I'm not blowing smoke up anyone's ass here. I forget the one that I had tried in particular, and I'm pretty sure it was a live resin. So they've got obviously tons. There's a live resin one. You're not going to be able to see the different labels, but here's a live resin tropical smoothie. Yum. This is the one you're talking about, Hawaiian Slap, which I haven't had a chance to try yet. And this is this is the Glen's Amber side of things. And looking forward to this. But they're substantial. But here's what is different. It's the texture. It's the
really,
texture.
Really
like,
nice. Yeah.
So the one night, go ahead.
No, so like with a lot of gummies too, I've had ones that are fairly chewy and hard, which is kind of what you expect from something like that. These are a very unique texture. They're extremely soft, but they still have some bite to them. It's really nice experience in the mouth. Really good.
Listen, Glen's is not paying us. They are not paying us to do this. They were generous. They sent it over. They said, hey, have you ever tried Glen's? Try these. These will be one of the only edibles that I like when in the gummy space that I would buy. And I now need to source. Can you buy these on the website? Oh, you can.
Yeah, so you can buy. So right here, it's the favorites pack. So these are non-infused. You can check out all their flavors. So here's the thing: 12 28-gram packs of non-infused gummies for $20.
If you're looking for high quality, like, I mean, holiday season, all that stuff is coming. But I am addicted to these. I'm addicted, and obviously I've shared with you, and I sent some to our other partner, Ian. He's got a care pack on its way. I also like that they've kind of divvied up their product line a little bit, which is they have all three kind of lanes. They have a distillate lane, they have a full spectrum, and they have a live rosin. They have a wide selection. When I saw the live resin, I think they do some collab with some people. I love their branding. Me, I'm very nostalgic when it comes to that kind of stuff, and they've been great at that. But and I was going to wear my hoodie today, and I'm like, whoo, it's like a spring day out there today. But I want people to see this. You probably have people, have bought these and sported these before. But I had it prepped and ready to go. I was going to wear it today, and I'm like, oh man, it's so hot. This, I think, it will become. Can people see this?
Yep.
So cool.
Yep.
It's just it's the details, right? The
It
details.
feels like it feels like I could go snowboarding in the sweater. That's how
it will become my favorite hoodie. I already know it. The quality similar to their products. Man, so awesome. But thank you, Glens. Thank you. That was incredibly generous. Like, just awesome. And I would expect we'll probably be wearing the hoodies quite a bit. Anyways, I'm like a kid at Christmas right now, man. I seriously am. So Jay messaged me this morning. I'm not going to share the details. Jay Schwartz, one of my favorite people in this industry, just asked, hey, I'm not even going to, let me just tell you, I'm bursting with excitement because, you know me, I've been on this hunt for the one-to-ones. I've tried a bunch. In my area, it's difficult to find certain ones. And I talked to Jay, and I'll share more when it comes. But Jay, love you, man. Very much looking forward to what's coming. That's all I'll say for right now. Anyways, exciting episode today, man. We've got Katie Pringle coming on
from Tether. Yeah,
Tether,
nice.
Marigold Marketing and Public Relations. She's awesome too. We had lunch with her months ago. I don't know why she chose that noisy restaurant though. I mean, the pizza was great, but
well, to be fair, it was some guy bashing away the air conditioner on the roof.
What the hell are they doing up there? And it was almost every time that Katie went to speak, bang, 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 and it was so loud. Like, listen, guys, it was imagine your duct work, because that's what it was. They were doing something with the AC, I think, and banging on that galvanized tin or whatever it is with a hammer. And every time Katie would go to speak, bang, bang, bang. I'm like,
not like they were just trying to tap something loose or anything like that. Like they were actually trying to demolish the air conditioning system. Is what it sounded like.
It was crazy, but great pizza, great restaurant. That was in Oakville, right? I forget the name of it, but and then we've got Autumn from Autumn Brands joining us. Very excited about that as well. It's going to be a packed episode as usual. But anyways, we'll have Katie on right when we return.
Breadstack e-commerce. It might be time to upgrade.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're joined by Katie Pringle of Marigold Marketing and Public Relations and Tether. Katie, welcome
Tom.
to Legacies.
Thanks for having me.
I was so excited to have you on. Oh my God. I actually thought you were on last week and I got a little bummed for a second. I love all our guests, obviously, but I woke up and I'm energized. I'm like, yes, Katie's on. We could talk about the banging in the restaurant. Oh, that sounds bad. Hold on. That sounds horrible.
The noise
and clatter. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Katie. How are you doing this morning?
Great. Yeah, doing really well. Like, honestly, can you believe it's the end of October? Like, it's almost Halloween tomorrow and then holiday.
It's ridiculous. And, we keep saying this. We said we feel so old sometimes. We're talking about weather. We're talking about time acceleration. And we're not even scientists. We're just, feeling old, I guess. I don't know. Listen, you've got a lot on the go. There's a lot of events happening, and we're going to talk about that. But first, we want to share with our audience why you were crazy enough to enter the cannabis industry to begin with. We've seen, Marigold Marketing and PR prominent for quite some time. But what was the lead up? Like, I know some of this, but we need to share this with the audience because we had lunch. What was the name of that restaurant?
Verace in Oakville.
Verace. They're probably done all their renovations. Hit Verace for some pizza. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. It was incredible. Anyways, how did you come to decide I'm going to do some marketing and public relations for the cannabis industry?
Yeah, actually, we have a pretty specific story around that. So I launched Marigold with my partner, Bridget Hoffer, who's just retired 8 years ago. And one of the clients that came to us initially was a friend of the family who ran a head shop. And he was asking for some fairly simple marketing guidance and support. And as it turns out, everything I recommended was either illegal or he couldn't do. So that was the beginning of us really learning how difficult the space was already, pre-legalization, and really presented a huge opportunity for PR. So that sort of set the ball rolling. And because there weren't a lot of agencies playing in that space, we really quickly developed a reputation and became the go-to agency for a lot of PR for companies across the sector, whether it's medical, whether it was legacy to legal brands, launching rec brands during legalization. So we really got to work on sort of all facets of the industry over that time. And then Tether sort of came out of a need. So our clients were asking us around 2021 for bud tender and marketing retailer and bud tender marketing solutions. And so, we created that. We created a community and we created these opportunities. People love to say pivoting. We're always pivoting and shifting to try to best serve our clients and do what the industry needs at the time, because that's been a changing landscape for sure.
Yeah, well, 100%. So I'm curious what the original recommendations were coming into it, because, and you're right. So pivoting, crucially important in this industry. We see our customers, our clients, the brands, all of these companies need to pivot. The ones that don't, they don't last so long sometimes. And there's no difference to the companies like yours, like ours, that are servicing them, going, okay, that's not going to work. That's need to work. But do you remember what the first recommendation was? It, you need to take over bus shelters and subway stations, and we need to do some billboards, and we might as well throw some bus transit in there too. And
we did recommend outdoor. They're located in Milton, and there was a billboard close by, and then also social ads and all the things you just can't do. So that was a quick way to learn, and luckily a friend of the fam, so all is well. But yeah, it was interesting. And I mean, everyone still faces those issues today, and that was 8 years ago. So it's definitely been a learning curve for everyone.
Isn't that sad? I mean, we're 8 years, you say, you don't realize, and it doesn't dawn on you until people say it and you make it real. And it's like 8 years, we're still struggling with this. And, Wes, in the, before you came on pre-show, we got hard on this, rum brand that is somewhat deceiving the public with. And I'm like, you guys have enough opportunity. You can already do everything. You don't need to come over here and, deceive people with your hemp-based, rums, right? Yeah. Just stay over there. Just go over there. We got enough problems over here to deal with. That's pretty cool. I mean, and you've been doing it for quite some time, but what is the difference between what Tether provides as a service in the event space compared to, say, a Grow Up or some of those, remember the earlier days, Lyft, right? Which I'm sure you've frequented in and had time there. But what's the difference between what Tether provides and what some of these large all-day, 2-day, 3-day events are?
Yeah. So I always like to start by saying I think there's room for everyone. Like, I think Grow Up's doing a great job. Really like Brandy and the team over there. We're a little bit different in that we're smaller events. We target a lot of secondary markets. We usually see 200 to 300 bud tenders through, and we have opportunities for brands of all sizes. So if you're a small brand or micro, we have micro pricing available. We make it accessible. Or if you're a larger brand that wants to show up in a bigger way, we have those options too. I think the other thing that makes us different is because we're rooted in PR and community, we really believe in brand touch points. So we're really about promoting our partners along the way, so that by the time, the community gets there, they've seen you, they have an idea of who you are, and it just makes those conversations that much easier.
Yeah. Well, I can say that you certainly succeed in the lead up to the events when it comes to promoting the brands.
Thank you.
I think if any organizers, let's say event organizers, it's hard to classify because you guys are doing a lot, but when it comes to that, I think you guys do it best. And there's this genuineness, and I don't know if it's because we know each other. I don't know if it's, we've broke bread. I don't know if it's that, but I can really sense that. And I think it's the team. We communicate back and forth. Let me ask you this, because this damn bag of Glens, I got to set this aside, is staring at me. Does Glens ever show up at Tether events?
They have. They came to Hamilton. They did a London event with us a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah. They sent us this beautiful care pack, and now I'm friggin' addicted to and that's why I joked with Wes, I got to move it. I'm going to end up chewing on it. You hear all this smacking, but I do, I see the support that you add, and it's really, I think it's your heart. I can tell that your heart is truly in it. You can tell that, and it's not just, I can make money in the cannabis industry, which some we've seen this happen. They come, they go. But for you, it's your heart is in it. One, you love the plant. I know, right? We'll talk about that as well. But you can just tell this genuineness, and even the team, like Brooke and everyone that does everything, you can tell they want to see the industry progress. They want to support the brands. And going to this, the format with Tether, I love it. We haven't had a chance. We will, though, next week, and we'll talk about that as well, November 6th. But we'll be there. I'm so looking forward to it. I honestly don't know if I always look at it this way, Katie, like I'll see there's an event coming up and we're busy, right? And I'm way the hell outside of Toronto. And I'm like, okay, I love the destination, but I forget the journey sometimes. And the journey for me, though, is just a commute.
And the ride home.
We just, we were there and we were in Toronto last night. And I'm like, oh, man, who the hell wants to live here? But then when you're walking there, it's like, okay, it's not so bad. But this is a commute. But I love that your heart's in it. How long have you loved cannabis?
Forever.
And why?
And why? I think it's just always sort of one suited my lifestyle, like my, in high school, hanging out with friends, don't show my kids, but that was something that we really enjoyed doing. We loved to go get a snack at Tim Hortons and smoke some weed and chat and laugh. And we kind of had the best chats that way. I enjoy not having a hangover. Not that I don't partake sometimes, but I enjoy that. And, to the point when I told my dad that we were working in cannabis, and my parents are pro cannabis now, but at the time, not so much. But he told me it was no surprise, no big surprise. So,
yeah. Tell us something we don't know, Katie. Next. That's funny. And I think it's funny because I've got high school and up. Right. And we want to, just as you said, don't tell my kids. I struggle with this, right? Because I'm like, I know what I was doing and maybe I would want them to have some different choices, right? Like I dropped out of high school real early. Couldn't handle it. I just couldn't sit still. And then when you talk about, we've had Drew Henson on the show before, and he's like, if not for cannabis, I would have never finished school. Like I just would not have been able to sit still. But, we want to protect them. But then we look at your success, look at what we're doing ourselves. And I'm like, it wasn't so bad. Like, I think there's this stigma still attached to, protect the children. I get it. Protect the young children. But at the same time, it's not like we're promoting it to them. You should be consuming. And honestly, even for us cannabis consumers or those that are advocates of it, in the back of our mind, we're still, we know it's not dangerous. We know we need to be careful, but we're not going to stop them. And if you rule with an iron fist, we know what that does, right? They're just going to rebel against us. So how do you deal with that? I mean, because you're prominent in the space, you probably have product. Like, I mean, I keep mine on lockdown the best I can. I trust my kids, but
everywhere,
but it's literally everywhere. Like the studio, especially, as the kids come and go, and sometimes they have to come in and out of the studio. And I'm like, oh my God, like it'd be a grab bag. Like for me, thinking back, like if my parents were into it, I'd be like, that's mine.
Yeah.
I'm taking it. So how do you, as a parent, deal with that?
Yeah. So my kids are still really young, like 9 and almost 12. And at the end of the day, I think I'm lucky because I get to have a conversation with them about cannabis and alcohol sort of in the same breath because they're growing up with stores. They're growing up. So there isn't that added stigma, that added worry about like, are you going to get in trouble? It's more about making responsible decisions. And so they're aware I work in this space. I do prefer that they just tell their teachers I work in marketing. I'm not sure we have to get totally specific about all of it. But either way, they're aware of it and they're, they know what it smells like and, they know what it is. And we talk about impairment. We talk about driving and the way you start to feed the info to little kids is sort of what we've been working on in our house. But yeah, like I'm lucky I get to say like this is what legal cannabis is, this is what alcohol is, you're supposed to be 19, so I think I have it easy in some respects because of that.
Well, I mean, thinking back to our parents' days and trying to influence us, I mean, again, I dropped out early, I left early, but I just couldn't imagine. There was so much stigma around it. And then it was, don't touch it, don't do it. But meanwhile, you can smell it. Not that my parents were consumers. They were, alcohol was the thing. And it's just so different. Like you bring up a great point. Like there's dispensaries around, but at the same time, shadowed, right? Through veiled store window coverings and, check ID, which, okay, yeah, I get check ID, but don't bring a kid into the store with you. You can't do that. And so there's still this industry created regulatory stigma. I think that's where it exists now, where we could continue to open open up the opportunity so that it's not frowned upon. Does that make sense? I guess I don't know how else to put it, where yes, there's dispensaries, yes, it's legalized, yes, medicinal and adult use recreational, but at the same time there's still this stigma around it. And I know we're still early in the industry, but completely different than what our parents would have to deal with.
Yeah, like at least we're not all going to DARE anymore and learning that, cannabis is the same as heroin and some other terrible situations. Because that's essentially what it was compared to back then. And, I don't know if you guys had ever, but...
I think my favorite commercial as a kid, I don't know if you guys remember it at all, but it was the commercial about this teenage girl sat on the couch or whatever, and then she smokes this joint, she actually collapses like a balloon, and she's just this flappy, like... I've got to find it. I've got to find
lock.
it. So good. Yeah, that was it.
That's couch lock.
This is what weed does to your brain, and you're just.
Although I did love Mad's Mothers Against Drinking and Driving, some of their commercials. They were super effective, I think. And I wasn't of age, obviously, but I remember back, setting the glasses down and just getting blurry.
Yeah.
Blurry. Remember those? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, they were great. But listen, how does Radical Femmes fit into what you're doing? Is that its own asset in a way? And when I say asset, obviously like the event, but how does that fit in? Because one, I love it, but how does it fit?
Yeah, I know we have so much going on, especially right now. So Radical Femmes is sort of a rebrand that we launched on International Women's Day. We worked with Sister Mercy on the branding. They're amazing. They contributed that to the platform. But we've been doing events for women in cannabis probably since about 2017. And so, COVID, we went virtual and then we took a bit of a break. But essentially the goal of Radical Femmes is to bring women together across the country. We've got holiday networking coming up in November in Vancouver, Calgary, and in Toronto. And it's about bringing women together to network and to help, drive conversations and create opportunities for women in this space. All are welcome. We always say that. We usually have some really awesome supportive dudes that come out to support as well. But I joke it sort of looks like a regular cannabis event, but reverse. So there's a handful of guys in the room and it tends to be mostly women. But yeah, they're pretty uplifting and we get some amazing leadership. So it's a chance for women in any position in the space to come out and meet some new people and build their network.
I love that. Where are the struggles right now for women in this male-dominated industry? Like, what are? Obviously, I'm not a woman, so I can't speak to it. But I get the sense from you, yourself, other individuals that I'm very close with. Where are the struggles right now? Well, help us understand that.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are the same as every other industry in the sense that funding's really hard. Well, funding's extra hard to come by. Right now.
Go woman founded, and then cannabis industry. Two strikes against three, right?
Right. Yeah. Like I honestly forget the percentage off the top of my head, but it's tiny. The amount of dollars that are going to female founded businesses.
That's sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of that remains the same. I think something that's been uniquely challenging for us is it felt like we were starting to make some progress in terms of women in leadership and diverse boards and all that good stuff, but unfortunately, we all know it's been really bumpy. There's been layoffs, there's been turnover, all sorts of stuff happening. And we do know, in general, women tend to be less risk averse. And so when, you're starting in a sector like ours, sometimes you can't ride it out. Sometimes you do need to go find something more secure because you've got all these other responsibilities on your plate. And so I think for us, it's like, working together to create opportunities for women in this space, but also continue to get the space, the industry into a secure position so that we can bring back some of these really smart people that wanted to be a part of it, just weren't ready to buckle up for such a wild ride.
Got it. That makes sense. I read a statistic back. I don't know if it was so much a statistic as it was a statement, but it was just a general statement in when men versus women are looking at job opportunities. Men will look at something, they'll scan the requirements. They only need to see 30% of them. And they'll be like, yep, I'm applying for that. Whereas a woman would look at it and go, I don't have all those qualifications or skill sets. And women would need to hit at least 90% of those before they would even think about applying. Does that sound accurate?
That's what we still hear. And that's not unique to us. For sure, that's across the board, but that's what we're still hearing about applications. The thing I like that a lot, I notice a lot more women do when they apply for roles that we have anyways, is they tend to go that one step further and, do some sort of cover letter or do some sort of custom message, which I think a lot of people are being told is passe. But if you were looking for a job, please don't, like, if you really want that job, please tell the recruiter or the hiring manager why, because you stand out in a sea of people that aren't putting any extra effort in. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think the big one there too is I used to do all the time was when I was applying is, yes, you've got the recruiter, you've applied for that job now, but usually I'd find that person I'd probably be working under at that company and just shoot a quick LinkedIn and say, hey, I've applied, looking forward to potentially meeting you. Just that little quick connection, right? And again, I think that you said that too, it's a little bit passe. Some people have been told that might not be right, but I think in today's job market, you've got to do something to go that extra mile and show your interest and show your passion, right?
Totally. Our best hires have come from no job description, no job posting. So Mackenzie on our team, she loves cannabis, she loves the community, and that just shone through in her messaging. And so you find a spot for people like that when it's a really great fit and they're going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think one of the contrast differences that I see, and I've seen this a couple of times now, it'll be professional posts on LinkedIn where someone in their experience was turned down for an opportunity and they would post what they sent as a follow-up to say, listen, I really enjoyed the hiring process. It's unfortunate that I didn't make it, keep me in mind for the future. That is, for the most part, something a woman would do. It's very gracious in the follow-up. And then I see where they contacted me 3 months later, they had an open role and here we are, I've got a role now, or a position where guys would be like, fuck you. Like, I'm not, forget this. I'm going, you didn't hire me, right? Our egos are just so big and bloated at times that, and I think that's one of the differences, but there's challenges, obviously. I've done steel and worked in steel and they're very dominated. And I think about this even with our own company, High Flyer Media, right? We don't have any open roles that we post about to hire. But I think that in most cases, with startups, especially with the project that we're working on, my circle of friends, the vast majority, I would say, are probably 90% male. And when I'm, talking about what's coming up or what's going, we don't purposely search for males. That's just my circle. But I can tell you this without a shadow of a doubt: if I ever need a PR person, and I'm being honest, I will not go to a male. I will always choose a female, always. And even when Wes and I got into a little situation, he's like, we should call Katie. And I'm like, we don't need to drag Katie into this, but she would be who I go to 100%. And I think that's just, there's more trust there. I think that you have more balance where men are so, and women are like, no. Just calm down. Let's take a deep breath, right? And I say that because I've worked, even in Ample days, our most astute were our women PR and marketing people. They just were. They had a natural balance for it.
Well, there's a reason the PR field is dominated by women for sure.
So you can have that, but I mean, let's get you some more momentum in the other industries, especially cannabis. And I think, like, why? I keep looking at it, why. I mean, risk tolerance, I get. Yes, men are dumb. We're dumb at times. Like, oh no, we'll figure that out. And I know so many founders in the space that they just keep going. They keep going. Somehow they pull it together, and it could be, 1 cent left in the bank account, and they've got to clear payroll checks, and somehow they pull it off. But anyways, I wanted to ask this earlier. What has been, if you can share, because I know this is going to be tough, what has been your most favorite campaign to work on or client to work with?
Honestly, we've had so many great clients. We have a client out of the US we've been working with for over 5 years, which is pretty unbelievable in this space. Vantage Hemp, they've been wonderful to us and gave us a chance to really learn the US market and the global market. So that's been cool. But honestly, the Tether community, like, if you ever get down about cannabis, talking to bud tenders is is real. Like, they are passionate, they are joyful, they are forward looking. We do a survey every year, and over 70% of these bud tenders want a career in cannabis. And so they're the future of our industry in so many ways. And so, we all get a little jaded because it is a rough go sometimes. There's no doubt about that. But I really think creating campaigns with a community that's so passionate has been really rewarding. And I know it's rewarding for the brands too, when, they come out and maybe they too are feeling tired or jaded or whatever it is. They feel pumped up after they leave. And so I think that's probably been one of my favorite things working on. And then because we're building that community too. So we're in it every day. We're talking to them every day. And it is nice. It's a nice sector that feels really good at the end of the day, regardless of the other challenges.
I never really thought so in tech, you would have pools that you would draw from. So to put it, the most simple would be, in a growing tech organization, we would always, at least Wes and I and others that we were able to convince, we would always draw from within. Who can we look to promote that knows one, because especially in cannabis tech, right? So one, do they know the industry? They've gotten a chance to understand it, what's going on, the, trials, tribulations, what works, what doesn't work. And that's just at a fundamental level. I'm not even talking about how they use software, right? Just at a fundamental level. So for us, I always said the mailroom, this sounds horrible, but this is the best analogy I have. The mailroom for us was always the CSR team, the lifeblood though, the lifeblood of an organization. Excuse me. So we would always look for opportunities that it was tough because you'd have rock star support individuals, CSRs, and you would have a position open that is a little bit of a change, but they could handle it, and you would present them to it. So for me, I liken the cannabis industry and the bud tender as that opportunity. And I don't see it enough, I think, right now. I've seen some movement, but why are we not creating programs, something around, we'll have to talk about this, because there's got to be something here where we can, because you've got an incredible support community around you in the bud tender side. Obviously, they're, for brands, that's their customer right now in a way, right? Because they have to
100%.
Educate them and help them understand. If you can get them there, they're an advocate, they'll sell your product for you. But there should be systems in place or ways to be able to go, okay, we need to support the bud tender community. They know the industry, they know the challenges, they know the brands. Why not start drawing from that pool? I need someone in X position in my brand company or parent company. Why not have that as the mailroom? I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I crazy? Maybe I'm crazy.
We do see sales reps or brand ambassadors more specifically tends to be kind of the first step sort of out of bud tending and into the industry, which is really cool. But something one of the brands brought up to me once is they meet these amazing bud tenders that they'd love to essentially poach, but it's not so good for them to be poaching from their customers and their key customers. So that kind of proves your point that there is room for sort of this third party, moving these people forward in a way that's kosher for everyone, but allows them to shine and allows them to get picked up by
That's
some
a
great
good
LPs.
point. I didn't really think of it that way. All right, back to the drawing board. No, but I think you're right. I have seen that. I've seen movement, especially in the sales rep side or someone moving on to the sales agency, which is, again, it opens you up to more experience and understanding. And I think that's the thing. It's just experience, right? And we all know there's drastic differences between certain bud tender types, right? Ones that you go into the store, they don't even acknowledge you're there, right? And they don't last very long, I don't think, in the industry. But then there's the ones that are overly boastful and they're just helpful and they really want to drill in. And I'm not their greatest customer because I know what I want when I'm coming in, but I love to just chat. I love to chat about, have you heard of this brand? Oh, you guys should check them out, right? What's your favorite brand right now? What are you enjoying in this category? But I just love the wealth of knowledge they actually have, and they're underestimated. That kind of bugs me a little bit because, again, they're the lifeblood of the industry. They're at the front line, and they are to every brand their customer. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you're absolutely right that there's a wide variety of bud tenders. We can't expect everyone to be as passionate as those that are creating content about brands they love because they genuinely love doing it. They show up at events. We had some bud tenders from our network drive from the GTA to Ottawa to come to our event. And some of them even drove back that night, like unbelievable levels of support. And so, we really make sure to reward that group of people because we're so lucky to have them. But the expectation can't be that every single person who works at a cannabis store is going to be at that level.
Of course.
Yeah. So you got to pull quite a few strings to reach them in different ways. That's for sure.
Are the bud tenders being properly supported? And I mean that from, you see PK sessions that brands will run, you see, at the events, that sort of thing. But there isn't a lot on the flip side of it for them necessarily. Sometimes some sampling, right? And if they get to an event, obviously there's sampling opportunities. But, you see brands roll out PK sessions, different, courses, whatever it might be. And then, there's this expectation that, the bud tenders are going to love this. They're going to take it. And I think back to my continuing education credit days of like, wow, I got to take another course, right? But I think there's obviously keeners, right? There's this, if we look at the Pareto rules, probably 20% of them, they're keeners and they're going to take everything they can because they love the space. But are we doing what we can as an industry to support the bud tenders when it comes to learning about the brands?
I think we're starting to. I think we need to listen more to, what they're looking for and what they want. So we're in the middle of our 4th annual survey or a 3rd. I think it's our 4th. And every year they sort of tell us what they're looking for. And it was funny, a couple years ago, one of the big stats was around the fact that like bud tenders think it's very important to have cannabis at your cannabis event. And that used to be more difficult than it is now. But it also came as a shock to a lot of brands who were creating opportunities for bud tenders, but not integrating cannabis in some way. And so, just those little nuggets of information, even though they seem obvious, I think have been helpful to sort of craft marketing strategies and move that forward. I'd also say that we see bud tenders move around a lot. They stay in the industry, but they move from store to store. And so it is also on the retailer to provide a great working environment. And, we see some retailers doing an amazing job of that and really valuing their team, giving them access to samples, having some sort of, equitable plan for sampling as it comes in. They do team events. And then some are run more like a more traditional retailer, which doesn't attract the same level of passion as you would if you involved your team and engaged your team.
That's a great point. One that I've considered it, but as I was speaking, is that the retail environment is so crucial to the longevity of holding that bud tender, right? What term do you prefer? Do you prefer bud tender, connoisseur, flower host? I always loved flower host.
We just say bud tender. Some people do like to be called cannabis educator. That seems to really resonate with people. And so, that's cool. Like if that's how you view yourself, there's also lots of opportunity for people with that skill set. So, but yeah, we usually say bud tender. And then, what's also funny is the independents. They're like owner, operator, buyer, bud tender. They are literally, they are all of the roles.
They're everything. This hat today. No, this one. Yeah,
exactly. And that's about 30% of our audience are people, responsible for decision-making when it comes to products and merchandising, and serving customers every day. So they're busy.
Yeah. I just love the space so much. There's so much opportunity still, but you still learn, right? Like I'm learning even. What was your take on Alberta's the strict ruling on no samples? Oops, we made a mistake. We actually mean this. Bullshit. You tried to come down hard, realize everyone was against you, and then pulled back. Did they make a mistake? I'll give them 10% opportunity on that, but I don't know. What was your initial reaction? And then from there, because you're in the space, you obviously have events that take place. Like,
oh yeah. Well, my initial reaction was everybody else is like, oh fuck, like is this the new direction? Because that's something I talk about with my team all the time. Like, offering services is volatile in cannabis. Rules can change, and you have to be prepared. And so, we did a bit of brainstorming and came up with some solutions, which are awesome that we've got them in our back pocket. I think a lot about the time and energy that was wasted by the industry getting up in arms, being nervous, wondering if, their tactics, their investments that they've already paid for are going to be able to happen and go through, only to take it back. That's really confusing professional communications by a government entity. So I'm, we're
that's
all
where I really wanted to get your take. One, from, event organizing with Tether, but also your, PR side. I mean, you've dealt with this before, but I think for the vast majority, I even came down hard on their follow up. Oops, we made a mistake, and I'm like, if dumb was a corporation, right? And I said to David Brown, I'm like, I'm just full of piss and vinegar today. Like, I get it, mistakes can happen, but deep down, I'm like, no. There's so many people, like, you put out a government bulletin or a memo to an industry. How many desks did that pass? Right?
Yeah. Well, and how even, our partners are asking us questions and, you're doing your best to provide solutions. And then just for them to walk it back, it's embarrassing, if I'm being honest, like, to have to deal with that kind of mistake or mismanaged messaging. I wouldn't be surprised if they got a little bit of crisis comms support to deal with, the flood of calls they would have received both before and after. So
crazy. What's your favorite province to deal with? And I know you're not dealing directly. Well, you are in some cases, but I'll keep the question the same. What's your favorite province to deal with?
So far, Ontario has been really good
Say
to us.
What?
Yeah, so far, Ontario has been really good to us.
They are good. They're a good group.
They are good. And you know what? The OCS has been good to us as well. They've supported Radical Femmes. Jenna and the social responsibility team over there have done some really interesting work, and I've known her a long time as well. So lots of challenges for sure in the way everything's set up, but we've had the most opportunity here. We've had, really open dialogue with the province, which has been great. And prior to those memos, actually the AGLC was wonderful.
That's what I heard. That's why when I saw that come out, I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Like, they're very forward thinking when it comes to events and being able to have product there, like just open events, concerts, that sort of stuff. And then I'm like, this doesn't seem like it came from the same province.
I know. And even you can speak to someone there directly. You can get feedback. You can ask questions. They even followed up with our venue direct on a licensing question about they had a liquor license in place. So to hold it, like, very, very helpful individuals who were likely disconnected from this communication. Those are likely different departments altogether.
Oh, I'm sure there was some bickering going on in the background there when that was released, and then having to walk it back. Oh my God, that's always so difficult. So difficult. Yeah. I want to get your take on the OCS buzz. Well, on the topic of OCS, and we love OCS, don't get us wrong. We know that you're never going to satisfy everyone, right? It is what it is. But what is Katie's take and your team's take on the OCS Buzzkill campaign?
Yeah, we've been talking about that quite a bit. The approach was interesting. It was definitely a PR play. It was meant to get people talking. It did that. It did that. I thought it was interesting, some of the comments around, like, how much did this cost? Like, how much did they spend on it? Well, I can tell you they spent way less than if they had tried to buy media to convey the same attention. If they had to do a paid media campaign.
Didn't even, coming from marketing and understanding media spends, that's the first time I've thought of that. You are 100% accurate on that. Sorry to interrupt, but I never thought of that.
Yeah. So, the amount of conversation and exposure and PR features they got, media exposure. So I think the government, the OCS, did a smart job in terms of reaching and garnering awareness for less dollars than if they were paying for it, from just an off-the-shelf perspective, from a paid advertising perspective, I mean. From an approach, it's pretty divisive in terms of how people have been feeling. I think for anyone that really understands cannabis, it was a little undermining in some ways. But I think for anyone that doesn't know cannabis, and I think that's who this is really targeted at.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Those that would end up in like a legacy store accidentally. I think it proved its point. It certainly didn't make everyone happy, though. There were a lot of feelings about it.
There certainly were. And I think, you bring up a really good point, right? Which is we're in cannabis. So working on the regulated side and understanding the roots and the history of legacy, it kind of ticks us off. It gets under our skin a little bit to make very broad statement claims of, oh, you don't know what's in it. Well, I don't know what's in some of the products on the regulated side either, unfortunately, because Health Canada doesn't allow for that. But at the same time, it was this fear-based, fear-mongering type campaign. But you're right. I mean, it was geared towards those that are either canna curious or complete fringe consumers that are considering it. And I never really looked at it that way. And that's probably, it'd be nice to be able to get, we're trying to get someone like a spokesperson from the OCS on, and we will, just as a follow-up to the campaign to understand what we would love to ask. What did you spend? I have a guesstimate. Their marketing team or firm or advertising firm was LG2, familiar with them as well. And I think they did it right. I don't know if the tone for me personally, but again, being in the cannabis space and having roots in legacy, that I had some trouble with. But, and we joked because did you visit the pop-up? Did you have a chance to go?
I didn't have a chance, but I certainly watched everyone's videos.
Yeah.
And the comments.
And Wes put a lot of B-roll and we did some stuff for that. But there was a screen in the store and it showed the legal dispensaries around, and Value Buds was literally, I don't know, 20 steps away. And I'm like, how much did Value Buds pay to get OCS pop-up in this location just down the block? But it was a joke, obviously. Anyways, listen, we want to have you on as much as we can. Just love chatting with you, but let's go through the event calendar. Man, there's so many. I don't know how you do it. Honestly, I have no idea.
We do take some time off at Christmas, so we're all looking forward to that.
Not much, but some.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, November 6th is our Tether Holiday Market. So that's out in Dundas, part of Hamilton. It's our third event in Hamilton. Hamilton loves cannabis. They're really great supporters of Tether. We're close to sold out already. So if you're interested in a ticket, well, not you guys, that's different, but other people, they're looking to come, they should grab one.
Get us our tickets. Get in there.
We've also got, I'll show you this quick, our dope guide. Stuart Farms is on the cover there.
I love Stuart Farms. Reminds me, I owe him an email.
Gotta love Tanner.
Yeah.
That's going out to all Ontario retailers as well next week. So that'll be an exciting week. It's our first printed edition. So there's some great gift suggestions in there and some really great partnerships we've got. And then we move into Radical Femmes. So that's November 13th I'm tripping myself up. November 13th, 13th in Vancouver, 14th in Calgary, and 19th in Toronto. And we have a variety of partners for each of those events, though I'd love to give CCX, the Canadian Cannabis Exchange, a huge shout out. They came on as a VIP partner, and they're really allowing us to do it up nice for all of our attendees. So that's November for us.
Yeah, that's only November. That's only November, folks.
And then we don't have another event until February in Toronto. So we've got a little bit of time to get ready for that. But what I'm loving about the industry this year is, well, one, we're prepared, but brands are prepared to have earlier conversations. So often I've worked on strategic plans or annual plans, and it's like Jan or Feb. We're a couple months into the year already. So it's nice that people are in planning mode and, getting their calendars booked for next year.
You can tell an industry is starting to mature when they're thinking about setting their budgets for next year, and this, the planning is going on. I love that.
Or even having the confidence to believe in their budgets, because I think that's what's been tough too for marketers. Like, have a budget, it gets cut, have a budget, it gets cut. And, trying to figure out, like, that's really tough. That's really hard planning to do when you're really not sure what's ahead.
It's one thing in other industries, which you've experienced, right? And they always say, the first to get cut is the marketing budget. And that's where you and I know That is the last thing you cut, especially in a downturning industry. You now need to double up and get ahead of everyone else. Listen to that. But yeah, I think it's nice to see these conversations are happening and they're doing this planning. But I also, it's encouraging to see like even the maturity of from when you started, and now you have the Tether events and the Radical Femmes and how that's built up, and now you're getting the support from a CCX that can help you, get to the next level of where you want to see it. I just continue to think about the amount of orchestration in the background and let's do 6 events next month. Yeah, okay, no problem. We'll just pick some dates and we'll find venues. But anyways, I know that it's a team effort, and you have an incredible team. I'll say that. But listen, Katie, it's been awesome having you on. We're going to make sure that we've got all the links that everyone needs to be able to find out how to get to the Tether event. We're looking forward to it November 6th. Let's see if I got this right. November 6th is Tether. That's Dundas. Then we go November 13th, 14th, 19th. That is Radical Femmes. Is that correct?
Yeah. Good for you.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
I can't drop my mic, but I would drop my mic if I could.
You guys are the best. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure, and you're welcome back anytime, and we will have you back again. But thanks for joining Legacies, Katie. Appreciate it.
Breadstack e-commerce. It might be time to upgrade.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're joined by Autumn Shelton of Autumn Brands, CFO and partner. Autumn, thanks for joining Legacies.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Oh, we're excited to have you. We're obviously in this 3-part series that we're calling Clean versus Dirty Weed. And we don't even like to say weed anymore. I don't know. We programmed us in Canada. It's all cannabis. You have to say cannabis now. But the Legacies days where you want to buy some weed. Anyways, we're excited to have you. We know that your company and your brand is very much dedicated to sustainability, but also no spray. And this I really want to unpack. Last week, we had Dustin Hughes from Rad Source on, and we were talking about their different technologies and the difference between remediation and decontamination. And when we put those posts out, I mean, we got some flack. People were like, oh, it's all the same, and they're lobbying the government and doing this. So I'm hoping that you can shed some light on that, unpack this a little bit for us. But again, thanks for joining us. We know crazy busy, but we made it work. You made it work.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive deep.
So tell us about Autumn Brands, first of all. From what I understand, I'm not going to do it justice, but family owned, woman run. Tell us.
Yeah, sure. So we started from legacy to now. We are 2 families that own and operate the business, and 50% women owned. And we are really focused on being, what this is. It's health and wellness. And so from the very start, we dove into changing over the greenhouses. They once upon a time were cut flowers, but we saw an opportunity where medical marijuana was going. And so we really wanted to dive into making history, which is what we're doing today. And so we did. And it was quite a transition going from the legacy market into the regulated market and jumping through a lot of hoops. And I really focused a lot on the compliance, the legal side, the finance side. My partner focused on the growing side. My husband was in there. He helped get us all set up and taught everyone how to trim. And so really just the 2 families were on it from the start, which has been an amazing journey being able to do it together. And we stay true to who we are and always have, even now. So that's really what's key to Autumn Brands, being genuine, providing the most natural product we possibly can, and also being frugal. And that's why I also think we're here today.
Well, that's smart. That's smart, especially in Canada, as you probably watch it. So what, Autumn was 2015, is that correct, when you guys started, or is it before that?
Yes, that is when we started the process to switch over to cannabis from cut flowers.
Okay. Quite the process. We had, it was indoor tomato and peppers in Leamington, Ontario, which was the big switch over. All these huge, multiple 1,000-square-foot greenhouses that were converted to cannabis. And now I think some of them wonder why they did that. They should have just stuck with tomatoes and peppers.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I mean, if I had a crystal ball, I never would have thought we'd be where we are today and the struggles that we are going through. I mean, we definitely built our business from the start being a $500 pound business. Like, we knew this was a commodity. We knew this was going to go down. Did I know it happened in 2021 in California? No. But
like, how do you, man, that's tough. You just put so much weight into one statement, knowing it'd be $500 pounds. Okay. Because we've seen, so we go from legacy to legal here in Canada. And in those days, it wasn't a, quality product in Canadian dollars, which is like nothing in US. But anyways, 2,400 to 3,200 a pound, right, in Canadian dollars. And you started to see, as there was conversations about federal legalization, it started to drift, and there was a huge influx into the market. And then all of a sudden it was $900 and $1,200 pounds. But Health Canada, in our case, just to give you some background, which I'm sure you probably understand it because I know that you're smart enough to pay attention, but they had priced, or at least thought, our wholesale flower would be at $10 per gram. And everything from there cascaded at that point, meaning all of our excise taxation, everything was based on $10 a gram wholesale. And I'm thinking, what? Like, where are we seeing that? But so for you to make that conscious decision, look, this could go this way. We need to be sustainable at $500 a pound. What was, I mean, you're the CFO, but what was the thought process there? Because what was it going for at that time in Cali?
Cali was at 1,800, 2,000 a pound for greenhouse. But we came from cut flower days. I mean, we were fighting over pennies at that stage, okay. So that's where we came from.
Not familiar with that side. So tulips maybe, but yeah.
So we mostly had Gerber daisies, but we had over 30 different varieties of flowers that we did. And, we were in the Safeways and the big grocery stores, but it was literally fighting over a penny or half a penny, per bouquet. And so really we took that knowledge and understanding to cannabis and knew that, at some point this was going to become a commodity. I mean, California, Canada, everyone was, there was primary growers at that time. This is where everything was, coming from. But now as every state opens up, it's not all coming from California anymore, from Northern California, right? So we saw the future and how this was going to transition and change. And so my partners are Dutch, and then I'm the CFO. And so we have two people that just really are frugal and pay attention to where we're spending our money. So when we started, we spent $5,000 on a blackout system, not $200,000, until we had that money to get there. So we definitely are on the mentality of growing within our means and getting there, gradually, and not trying to create a shiny object from the beginning, which we did see a bunch of those in the very beginning of cannabis, and they're all out of business. So,
yeah. How many of those brands are, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. How many of those, because I know so the California medical market was 96, is that right? 95, 96, somewhere in there. So how many of those operators, because we know about the legacy side, right? The Emerald Triangle, what was going on in Humboldt. And I mean, there's plenty of documentaries for people to check out if they're unfamiliar. But I mean, what was that space like? Because that was kind of the rise of cannabis for the United States at the time, right? Like all these states were basing, okay, 96, I forget what it was called when they went full medical. But then other states started to pop up and they're like, oh, we can get a medical card and you can get cannabis. What was the transitioning period into and running up to 2015?
Yeah, that was Prop 215 that really created the medical marijuana system that then built to where we are today. And we have to be so grateful for those people that were just activating for this plant, this incredible plant. And it's, and we're losing that now, the whole medical side of it, and really focusing on that because we are more focused on the recreational. And I think that, in the future, we'll see a little bit more value put back on the medical side, but they are the ones who have paved the way for where we are today. And that's where other states were also seeing the opportunity of cannabis. And I think that, it's been a really, really tough journey to be here, but we've been moving leaps and bounds in the last few years. And I do really feel that legalization, is really on the horizon for us coming up.
Yeah. I love when we can have our American guests on and we can talk about that, because I'll get to that question. I will get to that question, and I would expect that you can answer it from an operator perspective, but we've seen that in Canada as well, right? So, foundationally and fundamentally, it was born in medical. And how do we transition? So going way back, prior to, we called the MMAR and then the MMPR and the ACMPR and then the Cannabis Act and all these regulatory changes, similar to what, not quite, but in Prop 215. But as adult use opened up, and then Cannabis 2.0, we called it here, which is your access to, your beverages and concentrates, et cetera. The medical side started to die off at some point during that transition. And we are seeing, we would love to see a rise in it again, because there's so much advantage and it allows for clinical studies and efficacy and understanding what the plant can truly do. And without that on the medical side, we're not going to see this collaboration effort where you've got universities and the government supporting and funding that. So we've seen the exact same thing where it kind of dies off, and for good reason, I guess, right? It's access. Like if someone, the vast majority of individuals I know, they consume cannabis for medical reasons. So, but now they can just go to a corner store, right? They're not having to order it through, in our case, it was an LP. But with Autumn forming 2015, you saw the decline in the medical side. Was it because based on that sustainability effort, no spray, pesticide use, et cetera, was it, we're going to attack and go after, because you fundamentally are wellness, right? Are you going to look at the rec as that's our future? Or was it, we see the future with rec, but also the opportunity to be able to service the medical side?
Well, we started, our first branding was very medical. It was like part of the THC chemistry symbol. And then we transitioned about 8 months later into more of like a health and wellness kind of branding and ideal. But truly, even if someone's using it, like you just mentioned, recreationally, it's still for medical purposes. It's still stress. It's still to feel better in some way, to relieve shoulder pain, to relieve something, even though we don't necessarily call it medical. For us to make the transition from, and we, traditionally coming from cut flowers, we traditionally used an IPM program, an integrated pest management program. So you still sprayed organic pesticides and used beneficial insects. But in the fall of 2017, my partner Hans came to me and said, I have a crazy idea. I want to stop spraying pesticides. I love the idea, but I didn't know how we were going to make this happen.
Yeah. How do you do this? Yeah.
Yeah. How do we do this?
How? We don't have enough ladybugs.
And he said, I'm hearing a lot of information out of Europe and out of Holland that even organic pesticides are harmful to the body. We can wash our vegetables and our fruits, or organic vegetables and fruits, but we can't wash our weed. And on top of it, you're heating it up. So this is going to be really toxic. And so that is really the core of why we made this decision, for both medically and for, recreationally. We don't want the consumer to be to inhale or take in anything that's really harmful to the body. And that's what pesticides are. And so when his son Johnny came back on a break from Cal Poly, where he was studying ag business, they really took a deep dive into looking at this and decided we can do this. And so we stopped buying pesticides. We bought in a boatload of beneficial insects, and we just saw what happened. And at one point, this incredible thing happened. We were completely terrified because the entire crop was overtaken by bad bugs. And we thought, we got to stop. We're not going to be able to keep going. But our grower said, just wait. And sure enough, all those beneficial insects and these native ladybugs that we didn't know what those were at that time had come in on their own and just ate their hearts out and threw all the bad bugs off the plant. So no longer on there. If you spray, you keep the bad bugs in the bud.
Yeah.
Right?
People forget that, right? It's like, you can spray, you can do this, but that bug is still there.
Bug's still there. So we created, by stop spraying any pesticides, we created this perfect ecosystem that allowed for nature to do what it does best. And these native ladybugs, we posted something on Instagram, and a professor from UC Santa Barbara reached out to us and said, do you know what you have? And we said, a ladybug? And she said, no, that is a native California ladybug. You cannot buy those in. You can, because they don't cluster the same way as commercial ones. So those will only come in if you have a perfect ecosystem. That's the only
Wow.
way. And
Wow.
and so it was a light bulb moment, and we knew we had something, and we knew we could do this. Now, don't get me wrong, we threw away thousands of plants. Like, I am like crying, like watching.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that at that time equated to hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even $1 million. I don't think I really wanted to look too deep.
Yeah, especially as CFO.
Yeah. But after a while, the rhythm was there. The ecosystem got easier and easier. And we bought in less and less beneficials because they were just staying and continuing to produce on their own. And that's what the native ladybugs do today. So now we're able to, after 7 years, still going strong, created a natural product for the consumer, which feels really darn good.
I bet. Wow. That's incredible. I love that. And I've seen documentaries and different studies on sustainable agriculture in general, right? Where, we need to, one of the funniest ones is with Jeremy Clarkson, I think it's Clarkson's Farm, where, they were doing these tests in the fields and they're like, no, you need to introduce this. And then, the natural hunters will come in. So your beneficial pests, I don't like calling them pests, but your ladybugs and stuff will come back. But you need to create that environment, much like you would have at Autumn. And what a decision. Oh my gosh. Where did the board of directors sit on this is my question. Like, no, we're not going to do any more of this. Because as soon as I hear it, I'm like, crop failure, spider mite, crop failure. We're done, right? Where was the board of directors? Were they 100% in, or was there some convincing?
Well, that's the beauty. We don't have a board of directors.
Get out of town.
We are self-funded. We have no investors. And still to this day, and it is just the 4 owners that get to make that decision on what they feel is right.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Bring this up to Canada. Bring this. I could just imagine, because I'm seeing it, right? So you get all the sunshine. You're based out of Santa Barbara, is that correct?
Yes. The farm is in Carpinteria, but Santa Barbara County.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So you're getting all that sunshine. You're getting these natural ladybugs that just, they're in the neighborhood and popping by to eat. So they've got takeout.
I'm wondering where I can get an Autumn brand sweater that has the ladybugs on it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
A sweater I want.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So the commitment to sustainability is obviously there, and I think this is we greenwash in certain areas of industry, whether that's cannabis or other, but especially in agriculture, and truly understanding. I don't know what the rules and regs are behind not just cannabis, but in agriculture in general for the United States. But in Canada, there's a certain percentage that it could still qualify as organic, even if it's been sprayed with certain pesticides that are non-organic. I don't know what the percentages are. I don't know the exact side of that, but do you see, is that something that you see in the United States as well, because we get this air quote organic and they're like, well, it can be still sprayed.
Well, it's interesting right now. The people haven't been paying attention too closely to pesticides. And I think that's because we all smoked weed with pesticides for how many decades, right? But there was an LA Times article that came out earlier this year that really uncovered the problem of pesticides, and that there's a lot of products actually that were bypassing it through the lab testing that said there wasn't any, but really they still had pesticides that were above the limits, and that were actually not even legal in the United States, but they weren't even testing for them because they weren't legal, but they were finding ways to put them into the products. And so you find these bad actors that are cutting corners. And so now people are really waking up to the importance of being pesticide free and understanding that. And there's some dispensaries, Catalyst is a big chain, like he is on a mission right now to only carry pesticide free or very, very, very low pesticide products.
That's incredible.
So
that's a commitment.
Wow. The way in the future to go beyond, just like we did in normal agriculture, we went from conventional to organic. I really feel like there's going to be a wave of going away from organic, because even that's still a little gray zone, to just pesticide free and finding that. And I'm seeing that like in spinach and certain vegetables, even in the grocery store today, that are pesticide free, which is exciting.
Wow. That it is. And I'm thinking, like, in the case of, I know it's different state to state, so I don't want to broad brush it, but I kind of have to, like, your marketing regulations allow, and the reason that I'm saying in marketing, like in Canada, we're on full lockdown, right? Full lockdown. I don't know if you've ever seen a package from Canada, but do this way. So this is the full allowance of what they can do. This is the like marketing genius at its fullest. So great big THC logo, very little information other than cannabinoid content. They can put terps and stuff on. And then on the back, if it's an edible, they can put ingredients and stuff, but that's it, right? And you know this, that packaging is created to educate a consumer. So in these cases, when they start putting pesticide-free, et cetera, on there, that's about all they can say. Right. But in the US, you have, at least to my knowledge, you have the opportunity to further educate based on what the packaging rules and regulations are, where we're completely stonewalled on it. Like, this is, like I said, that's a maximum you're going to get on a package in Canada. So as there's this shift towards sustainability, where do you see the opportunity? I mean, you're already playing in it. So, right. But where do you see this opportunity that you can influence other operators to say, look, guys, this is possible. You can do this. Are there other producer processors coming to Autumn and saying, look, we saw this, we see that you're doing this. How are you doing this?
And you're referencing the pesticide-free side of it or other sustainability?
Yeah, just the sustainability, but, I guess just in general, because I know that's a bit of a loaded question, but because your practices are obviously something that others would draw attention from others, right? And they want to understand how they're doing that. But then to be able to move into that pesticide-free category, how are they like approaching you and saying, we need some help?
I haven't had any growers approach us yet to learn how to do it. We've certainly had new dispensaries. We have consumers constantly reaching out to us saying, you are the only products that I will ever smoke because you are 100% pesticide free. So that has already happened, but I do hope that growers come to us and that we can have this conversation. We recently were someone called us out for greenwashing because they did not believe that it was possible to be 100% pesticide free.
Really? What was your response to that?
I said, come for a tour. Let me walk you through it.
Come on over.
She's not taken me up on it yet, but I'm hoping she does. But she did, it's important to mention as well that there's not all the bugs can be combated by beneficial insects. There's certain other aspects like russet mites that you can't, there's nothing that's going to come and eat it. So you have to have other SOPs also in place. So for that, in that situation, russet mites can't fly or go anywhere unless it's on clothing or a high wind will move it. So if you get a breakout, you don't walk down that aisle. You don't go near those plants because then it'll just end up on your clothing and you don't have any fans going, or you try to protect it if you're outside in some way. And then that way it doesn't overtake the rest of your crop. And then you analyze if it's still usable or not usable in the end. And so there's other SOPs that you need to really also look at, not just beneficial insects. So that's, but we're here to have the conversation and we encourage other growers to go pesticide free because we really do think this is the future, and really understanding what's important in this plant and how we grow this plant.
Yeah, I love that. And we know growers are a finicky bunch. Right? Everyone's got the best secrets and we're not going to share. But I think more collaboration in the industry, it just continues to advance the industry. And you have a luxury of being able to claim wellness in that side. Even though we have operators in Canada that technically fall under wellness, we cannot state wellness, period. You cannot be in that category. Now, on the medical side, if you are a doctor, you can say wellness, right? But anything outside of that, great example, very prominent retail dispensary on Queen Street in Toronto. All they did was put wellness on the door along with their logo, and the AGCO, or the regulator for the province, came by and said, you can't do that. Take that down. It just tells you, yes, Canada is advanced. Yes, we're federally legal, but we've got a whole set of challenges that we continuously deal with day in and day out. So let's bring this back to understanding clean versus dirty weed a little bit more, because obviously Autumn is there. You're doing everything that you can. But how do you continue to speak off, similar to, the outreach that you had and said, there's no way you're not doing it without pesticides. You can't do that. And then I want to move into understanding like Rad Source technologies. I'm not sure if Autumn uses those, but what the advantages are. Okay, perfect. So I knew that. Why did I not know that? Yeah, see, I just get these brain farts every once in a while. Anyways, yeah, I'm curious about that and how you can influence the industry with proven tactics and methodologies, right? That others are taking notice. And then what is the difference between sprayed and non-sprayed weed? I mean, you touched on it, but I want to dig a little bit deeper where you don't want to be inhaling that product. We're heating it up, we're decarboxylizing it, and it's getting into our lungs. And some of those pesticides that are getting used, they're not going anywhere over time.
So starting with Rad Source, we do use we have the machine, and which is X-ray technology that's normally used in hospitals. I'm sure you have Rad Source already on your show, so I'm sure if you went more technical. So I'll say pretty high level here. And so for us, we ended up getting put in a pretty tough situation in early 2021, where all of a sudden we started out of nowhere failing for microbials and couldn't figure it out. The lab couldn't figure it out. Ultra scrubbed everything, warehouse, greenhouses. I mean, we researched, we did whatever we possibly could, and it kept happening batch after batch after batch, and it was devastating. We lost a lot of market share because we couldn't put the product out. And eventually we ended up, we researched and we found this machine, the Rad Source 420. We ran a bunch of tests to see if it would hurt our cannabinoids, our terpenes, our flavor, the crystals. It did nothing of that. It was still, everything was still intact. It was still amazing weed. So we placed an order, very expensive piece of equipment. I don't think we could have done it today. But at that point, coming out of 2020, we were luckily had the funds to make it happen. And so we ordered it. And before it even arrived, we said, let's switch labs and try a couple different labs and see what they're finding. None of the other labs found any microbials in our cannabis. So we left that lab, and not too much longer later, I found, talking to others in the industry, other colleagues, they were also got failed by that one lab, all of them. And so this lab somehow changed how they were testing microbials, and it was exponentially elevating the actual percentage of microbials in the cannabis, and that's where we kept failing. So it was devastating that we went through that, but it was certainly a big learning curve. And so today we have the Rad Source and we continue to use it, and we put everything through it just to make sure. So, I mean, we still operate a very clean farm. Like, anybody who comes is blown away. I've been to some other farms and they don't always keep everything nice and tidy. But this is just another level for us to be zero detect. So pesticides, zero detect. We go through 7 different quality control periods throughout the process to ensure that our buds don't have anything, have any bugs in them, don't have any issues, making sure it's most perfect bud we can possibly provide to the consumer. And the Rad Source is just another element of that quality control. And it's more important today than ever. So also, I'm not sure if you're aware of, in California, the DCC, starting in Department of Cannabis Control, started in January issuing recalls almost every single week. And it is either for pesticides, microbials, or for cannabinoids not being accurately labeled. And so
are they pulling, sorry, I want to pause on that for 1 second. Are they, it's the DCC, are they pulling samples off shelves, or is there a requirement for you as producer processor to send your product to them? And then what does that testing and then recall process look like?
Seeker shopper.
Okay. Which is good. I mean, it is good to have that.
So
but how many companies are on?
The microbial thing is so important also, just because even though we may test it here in our facility and it's fine, we don't know what's going to happen after it leaves our facility. We don't know what temperature it's going to be kept. I mean, obviously we really value our relationship with our distributor, and we know that they're doing it right, but anything could happen between, our farm, the distributor, the retailer, the consumer. The consumer could leave it in their car, in 90-degree heat. who knows what'll happen. So this is just like another way to ensure that that doesn't continue to happen. We also would get emails sometimes because we are pesticide free and use beneficial insects. Sometimes a bug might hatch after the fact, and a consumer would end up with a bug flying around in their jar. Didn't make them very happy. We would always tease and say, it wasn't meant to leave our home. Can you please send it back? They didn't always like that anymore, but we thought it was funny. So this is just, another element of making sure our cannabis is clean.
Yeah. When we had Dustin on, I had so many questions because I didn't realize the difference between, in remediation and decontamination. But, he pointed out really well, which, going through your story is, you were testing high, you're doing everything. You're looking at your SOPs, you're going, okay, are we scrubbing this enough? Are we disinfecting here? Are we doing this? And, it can come from anywhere. Like even your packaging suppliers, there could be something that's just not right. Maybe air showers aren't working properly one day. It could be literally anywhere. And the amount, because I come from operations, I'm thinking, whoa, like tracing, the origin of what could be causing something is so expensive. And so this is just peace of mind. But I also look at it as, you go for open heart surgery, they may only be doing that, but chances are you're going to get a round of antibiotics right after, just to be sure you're leaving and you're not going to end up with an infection of some sort. So I love that. I mean, and I didn't know the difference. I love that Rad Source comes from medical, right? Like that's where the vast majority of their devices were used. And I'm like, okay, well, this makes sense. And this isn't to promote Rad Source. For us, it was who's got a tech that's working because there's a lot of, downers on the remediation side, right? They're quick in Canada. I would assume probably the same in California and throughout the other states is never irradiated. You see this on packaging, never. And I'm thinking, great. But I mean, Dustin's got me so freaked out as a germaphobe on the technology side. I'm going, okay, now I may not want to touch a product if it hasn't been treated with a Rad Source technology because I don't know. I mean, who knows, right? Curing processes, obviously that's different for everyone. Cold cure, like there's so much that can affect the quality, but also microbials and are they growing, right? So, and it's something that we've never even really considered. Is California, because California I know is very progressive when it comes to, just clean standards in general, right? The environment. Are there other states that you see as opportunity that will align similar to California and what the requirements are, or is it kind of still wild, wild west? Because your distribution is California right now, is that correct? And
correct.
Do you go anywhere else? Yeah. But are there other states that are following suit that they'll put in some sort of mandating that you can't do this? We're going to have secret shopper programs as well and doing this, or?
Absolutely. I mean, I think other states, we're all learning from each other, but California is such a big state, and I think they always look to California, and that's why it's so sad that we're struggling so bad, because we should be doing it right. We should,
yeah, we
should be the one that everyone is looking towards. But right now, everyone's saying, I don't want to do what they did because that's not working. But the Rad Source thing is still very controversial in all these states, and what other states have unfortunately done for remediation is they've basically made it a kind of like a red scarlet, right? They've red letter. Is that what you say?
Red,
like the red letter.
Scarlet red. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Scarlet letter.
Yes, the scarlet letter. That's it. Yes.
Because they are forcing brands to put it on their jars, on the label, saying it was radiated. Or so then you have other brands saying, oh, well, I didn't. So it's created an us and them, unfortunately, where this is actually a good thing and helpful. And in California, the state of California has actually certified Rad Source as being for irradiation and for remediation. And we do. That is the one thing. We have already had people reaching out to us and asking if we will remediate for them, but we just don't have, the machine is already going nonstop every single day for our own product that we don't have the space for it. But, maybe that's a future business. Who knows?
Moving to California, Wes, I think you're going to finance some Red Source tech. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so this really still continues. It's one of the education pieces that we need to continue to work on, and educating the consumer, educating the grower, so that they understand. And everyone's scared of what they don't know, right? So it's a matter of education, I think, and we'll get that.
Yeah, for sure. One of the topics that comes up quite a bit with, depending on our guests, we have some guests that are well-traveled and they're at the events in the U.S., even though they're Canadian-based. But it's, they brought up good points, which is pay attention to what's going on in the US, right? This is where because of our restrictions, we don't have the world of innovation at our fingertips like you would see in the US. What would a message we're picking up speed and some prominence in the US as well with our audience, but the vast majority is still Canadian. What message could you communicate to our audience that are Canadian about what you're seeing in the US, what you see as the future for cannabis in the US that maybe we can pay attention to in Canada?
I mean, the future of cannabis is normalization, that this is something that people will use on a daily basis. The stigma is going to disappear. So creating products that really touches all different segments of communities and consumers and what they're looking for. And that's why, we started here, with flour on mason jars in dispensaries in the medical marijuana days, and that's transitioned into all these sorts of different form factors in packaged flour, to pre-rolls and infused pre-rolls, to vapes, gummies, edibles, topicals. There's so much innovation available to us out there. I just launched a new self-care wellness line called Now Melt, and it's for intimate care.
Okay, cool.
It's a full body experience of taking a bath with bath crystals and a gummy and intimate serum that's amazing for orgasms, and an edible body butter that tastes and smells like strawberries and white chocolate. There's just so much we can do that's normal in normal CPG world. And so, Canada should also really be embracing that, and the packaging, not making it this very medical, look. The consumer is not going to feel really comfortable with that. They're going to feel comfortable with something that is what they want to look at, is packaging that they want to set on their counter. And it can all be done safely, 21 and over. They've done that with alcohol. But I also think, cannabis and magic mushrooms are both going to be the future. Alcohol use is declining rapidly and has over the last 20 years, and it's going to continue to go down. And the younger generation really understands that it's poison and it's not good for them. Whereas cannabis is something that really can help open their mind. It's not something that's toxic, that's going to make them feel really terrible the next day. You
can say shitty.
Okay. Wasn't sure. it was there. Really shitty the next day. So
yeah.
It is really the future. And we are, America is on the brink of legalization. And maybe it will start next year with rescheduling to 3. But even that's, another little gray zone. But I feel like here we already have both candidates, talking about cannabis on their platforms, which is the first time ever, both. So, and I think we have 4 more states that are looking at recreational. And so if we even get 2 of those, we're over that majority line for recreational. It's not just medical anymore. So, I think really the future here, it's going to be legalized, and normalizing this plant is really important.
Man, it's such a good point. It brings me back to thinking, we were first, depending on how you slice it, first G6, G7 to federally legalize, but at the same time with such prohibitions, so much restriction, and trying to move the industry forward away from that stigmatic nature of what it was, and hiding in the alleys or keeping your bong clean and under your bed because you didn't want your parents to find it, right? And they've not done it any justice, where all of our dispensaries have to be completely shrouded, window coverings, right? So almost like a speakeasy. You can go in, but you can't touch the product. You cannot, even that package, full excise tax, you can't touch it. It's behind glass. And in other cases, they're like, well, if I can't do that, I'm going to make an Apple store. I'm going to put screens on the wall. So you lose that experience, right? But then the packaging and all this. And one of the cautionary, at least, tales, because we've seen it in another industry where the U.S. is quick to move on something. If and when, because it will happen, federal legalization happens for the United States, Canada's going to have to play catch up now. We're going to have massive reform. We've had the opportunity, and we've shit the bed on it, where, yes, we export currently to Australia and different parts of Europe, and depending where you're talking, certain parts of the Caribbean or, South America. But federal legalization happens in the U.S., we're done. in our current state. Like, we're going to lose our position on the global stage of cannabis, if you ask me. And that's not just because packaging. It's not because of packaging. It's because of the government's entire shroud around the way they view it. Because we've moved away from that alley, and now it may be, public, but the government's still saying, but it's still bad in a way, right? So they're the ones now creating the stigma around it.
But that's what happened in California, I think, too, and talking about like the price per pound going down so much, because then you have all the other neighboring states legalizing. So, I mean, while California weed will always be important, it's no longer where everything is. And so when you have a neighboring country,
that's a great point. Wow, I never thought of that.
Competing with you, you can't all of a sudden just rely on being that brand that you were before. Like, you have to do more. You have to innovate. You have to go above and beyond to really stand out.
Man, that's a great point. I didn't even think of it that way, because we hear, obviously Michigan is close to us, and Ontario, and we hear they're just doing incredible, and there's incredible genetics available. And it's like, wow, I never would have thought Michigan of all places. Like, it was always California and BC, right? It was always forever and ever. It's just, so when it comes to that, we saw it with ours back 2016 federal election, Justin Trudeau, the golden boy of cannabis. He's going to bring this through. And now it seems like it's just as of recent. I don't pay very close attention to U.S. politics, but I find it entertaining, to say the least. But now they've both adopted cannabis into their platform, where, initially it was just kind of, they'd speak it off. Oh yeah, we'll consider it. I don't see it as a problem. But now both candidates are a little bit more prominent with their viewpoint on cannabis. Is this just ploy tactics? Like, are they just looking at this as, we'll use this because we know we usher this in, we're going to get more votes? How do you view it as an American?
Well, Kamala has already been on the platform of cannabis. I mean, she's already been helping guide the way to, make this happen. I think Trump sees the importance of it, and so he's just kind of now adding it in there so that, he doesn't lose those votes, because really, like I said, recreational is about to go over that majority line. And so they can no longer ignore this. Like, this is what Americans want. They want legalization. So, it's an important topic and something that needs to happen. And so while I think Kamala would definitely make it a priority if she became president and something would happen in the near future, I think Trump would most likely put it to the back burner and not actually make it, something that he's really focused on. And it's more of him just kind of adding it to the list of things that he's going to do.
Yeah. One more thing. Right.
So, I mean, Biden too. Biden came in and said he was all about marijuana, but he didn't do anything about it in the very beginning. I mean, it definitely took him. It wasn't his priority either. So I feel like that would be the same type of Trump policy. But I think with where we're at now and how much Kamala has already really put into it, I think she's going to really help move the needle on it. And even if she doesn't, like Congress, if we have more states that go rec, now Congress has to act, because it's right in their face now. So we don't really even have to wait for the rescheduling or, for the DOJ to do anything. Like, that's, we really are showing this is what we want, and this is what Americans want.
Power in numbers. So it brings up a question. I've never asked this. So in Canada, we know the only profitable companies, and not really companies, is the government, right? So our distributor, I'm not joking, like, Ontario Cannabis Store, which is the distributor and, get this, competitor against all of our retail operators in Ontario, their coffers are huge. Like, they, 300 million, 400 million year over year profitability, where brands are, remortgaging their houses just to be able to stay afloat. In the US, because it's not federally legal, you obviously have state mandates and, Minister of Finances at the state level, I would assume. Where does the tax dollar, is cannabis taxed? Number one, this is what I should ask first. Up to speed on certain. Okay, so cannabis is taxed. I think it's a little bit different rates state to state.
So there's an important tax.
Walk me through all of it. Okay, walk me through all of that.
So the most important tax is that because it is still federally illegal, there's a federal tax code called 280E. And so we are still treated as an illegal business. And 280E means that we can't deduct normal expenses. So when you file your tax return, you have to add back in any administrative wages, any administrative costs, any marketing, any of that, all of it, any licensing fees. I mean, there's anything that doesn't touch the plant, you have to add back in like you didn't spend it. And then you got to pay taxes on that. And so that's what we're all still grappling with here in the United States and all of our companies. And when you have a downturn market where you barely can even function in your negative profit, then on top of it, you still got to pay taxes on that money. And so it's been an insane system. And that's why rescheduling Schedule 3 is going to be, that would take it away. And so that would be a game changer for a lot of people.
I was just going to ask, does that turn the tide for some of these companies then? Because I couldn't imagine. I mean, you're in the finance side of it, so you get it wholeheartedly.
And
but
some
I couldn't
banked
imagine
on it, though, for 2024 to happen. Like, they didn't pay their quarterly taxes they were supposed to because they really felt it. They were like, no, it's going to happen this year. And then it's not going to happen this year. And so now the IRS is coming after them, and now they're going to pay penalties. If you're a grower, you don't have to pay estimated taxes till the January of the following year. So we were able to just kind of ride it out and see what happens, and not get held up in that situation. But yes, every state has their own taxation and how they do things. So in California, you are still taxed. There's an excise tax, and right now it's at 15%, which is still way too high. And then there's state tax, and then there's local taxes, cannabis taxes, and then a bill just got passed to reverse it. But before that, they were basically paying a tax on top of a tax on top of a tax. So they were compounding them. And so the consumer, effectively, when they went to a retailer, it was a 35% tax they were paying just for California.
I'm not shocked, because in Canada, it's around 70% at the consumer level. Yeah. So when you say 30, I'm like, I'll take 30. Yeah. It's estimated at around 76 cents for every dollar spent on cannabis in Canada goes to taxes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's why you're like, I'm like, 30. Hell, I'll take 40. I'll take 50. I'll take 50.
How do you survive on that? You can't survive.
We don't. I'm telling you, this is why so many brands are struggling, because, and again, then so you're talking a tax on a tax. This happens in Canada, and especially in BC, they have this ghost tax. They are literally taxing a tax on top of the product of wholesale good. Like, I don't know how. It's technically illegal.
We were paying a cultivation tax up until 2022. So once the governor eliminated or zeroed out the cultivation tax, but it got to a point when the market crashed here in 2021, the cultivation tax was more than the outdoor growers could sell cannabis for.
Oh my God.
And so it took him a year to make it happen, but a year later he eliminated it. So that did make a shift, but didn't solve the problem.
I'm still perplexed as to how it's not federally legal, and yet you have to pay the tax on it at the state level when the state isn't necessarily recognized, because the federal side is. I'm so dumbfounded when it comes to
your
this.
Federal income taxes on it. I mean,
right.
you're still paying taxes,
well,
of
course,
recognizing you, but you still got to pay your money. And that's the problem with like all the bills that have come out. The federal tax they wanted to implement, it started at 25%. And then they finally brought it down to like one bill was 5%. But I did the math for us, like even 5% is basically the equivalent of 280E.
And what's 280E? Sorry?
That was the federal tax code.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Deductible expenses. So I would just be in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what the government likes to do. I don't care which government, where in the world it is. It's, we're going to take this, but also we're implementing this at the same time. And no, it's a wash, but you'll like it. They think we're dumb. And because we want something, it's like satisfying a child sometimes, right? Oh, you really want this. So it's going to come with a lot of strings attached.
And regulation's important and taxation's important, but at a reasonable level. I mean, this is over the top. And that's why, the legacy states that did legalize are struggling, because the taxation is just way too high and the regulation and the entry is way too high. I mean, you want it to be at a certain level, because then that weeds out the people that can't make it or do it. But at the same time, it needs to be reasonable. And we're still not at a level where it's reasonable. And in California, the excise tax that it's at 15% right now is on the table to go up to 19%.
Why? What is the justification behind that? In what world can they sit there with a straight face and think, we need to up it? I don't understand this.
They made a lot of promises in the Prop 64 of people that needed to get paid money, thinking that cannabis was going to be a cash crop and we're going to make so much money and so much taxes that there's a baseline that was created that needs to be made. And when they eliminated or zeroed out the cultivation tax, they gave us a couple years to get to this point, and now they have to determine if they're still bringing in enough taxes to make that baseline. When in reality, that baseline is just not realistic. It needs to be reduced. So we'll see what happens. The banning of hemp, THC.
Oh my God! What the hell is you? Listen, California's been so awesome and progressive in so many ways throughout history, and then what is this? Newton, is that right? Gavin Newton.
Newsom.
I'm going to call him Newton. You see Musk run for the hills, like when I forget whatever happened, their taxation BS, I guess, I don't know. And then the hemp, and I'm like, this seems like 10 steps backwards.
It's a pendulum swing, but so there has been a hemp bill on the table for 5 years, and trying to figure out how to integrate it and how to enforce it. And each year it hasn't made it through the process. Since the loophole has been getting bigger and bigger for hemp. So are you familiar with the THC hemp loophole?
Okay. Because we had Nicole from the ACNA. So she's North Carolina.
Okay.
North Carolina. So she was informing us of some of what's going on, but also, the hemp that's harvested for the THC. It gets hung in old tobacco kilns, and then you get molds. And it was the first part of our 3-part series. Yeah.
So the Farm Bill was intended for rope, not dope. Mm-hmm. And it was put into place that it was supposed to be 3% THC because that's what the plant produces. But they said by weight. And then the FDA didn't do any regulations. And so in 2020, people got really creative and innovative sitting at home and figured out that they could start to create these products if the net weight of the gummy in ratio to the THC was 0.3%, they could actually create a 5 milligram or more gummy. And so that industry started to boom. And that's what's been growing over these years. And not until really end of last year, beginning of this year, is when everyone kind of woke up and went, oh, we have a problem. This is huge. And so AB 2223, I'm on the board of the California Cannabis Industry Association as well. It's the largest lobbying association in California, and I'm the treasurer. And so this bill was set to try to find a balance for integration of bringing hemp into the market and enforcing it so that it was in parity with cannabis. So it is also taxed. It is also regulated. It is also getting lab tested. And so that's what the goal here was. But the hemp industry, because they were able to create this $1 billion loophole industry for THC, they had a lot of money to fight it, and nobody could get along, or nobody could really come to a compromise on what that AB 2223 should have done in August. And so the bill failed. So Gavin Newsom, because the hemp industry would not come to a compromise, he came back and said, fine, I'm just going to ban it. And so that's why that occurred. And because it is, children are able, you can go to a liquor store and you can find these products above candy bars. And it's so confusing to the consumer because I have a friend in New York and she's like, can you ship me your gummies? And I said, no, I can't ship you my gummies. I got everything you have to stay in California.
I want to go to jail. Sure.
She's like, but I get THC gummies from Colorado. And I'm like, those are hemp. And so right now the problem is that it's undermining the regulated cannabis markets in all the states.
Okay.
And so the consumer can just get it straight to their door, untested, unregulated, untaxed. And so it's really is affecting the cannabis industry. And that has worked so hard to do it right. The beauty of it, though, and the part that I do love is states like Minnesota has actually fully embraced hemp THC. You can get the hemp drinks and beverages in their supermarkets. So what it has done is it has normalized it, which is where we should be. And so now consumers that are too scared to maybe go in a dispensary can access THC beverages or products in the normal grocery store, which is really huge and which is where we should be. I mean, hemp and cannabis should just be one. And so that's where we're at right now, where it needs to be figured out where they're both taxed the same, they're both regulated the same, and you're not having the cannabis and the hemp industry at each other right now, because then no good decisions are going to be made, because then you're leaving it up to government.
Well, thank you for that context, because I was just, what is this guy doing? And now I'm looking at it like I'm all in to protect the cannabis industry any way I can, but also seeing the opportunities in hemp. I mean, hemp is going to way outgrow cannabis in the future. I mean, we're talking a decade potentially or more, but
why?
Well, I think just the industrial purpose and use of it, right? So beyond where we see cannabis as consumable, I think, and again, it's just my opinion, but we could return to where we saw prior to Prohibition, and the use of hemp outside of psychoactive behavior and using it for your Declaration of Independence is on hemp paper. Is that correct?
I think so.
I think it's on hemp paper. So spun, it can be spun softer than silk, and it's stronger than canvas. So when I look at those and the opportunities, especially with what I'm seeing in Europe and the global trade of hemp, I just see it as the potential to be much larger than what cannabis is as a consumable CPG type product.
Well, yeah, I mean, hemp is very important in that for clothing, for other types of products that you need. And it's also important for the CBD side of it, because it has such a higher level of CBD than
yes.
Side. But that's why they should be kind of blended together. It's not a long-term plan for THC, because even today, for the demand of these THC products and beverages and gummies that people have, hemp has such a little bit of THC in it that there's not enough to create these products. So that's why you're seeing so many synthetics, so many converted products that aren't.
Yeah. That I'm against. I'm against that completely. To me, that's, you have cannabis sativa over here for a reason. Let's use that for the purpose of what it is. It's almost like, whippets to get high. Guys, why? Like, why? What are you doing? There's a product that's designed to make you high without, having to coax out the THC in it by drying it longer or letting it cure longer. And I think that's somehow they do it. But I'm glad that you added that context, because I never would have thought. So then where did you stand when Gavin made that ruling or that call to say, you know what, I'm just banning it all?
Well, again, like I said, like I hate the hemp loophole and I love the hemp loophole. So
he was creative.
But I felt like it had to kind of happen, because the hemp industry was like, well, we can do whatever we want. We got lots and lots of money.
They're almost here going, no, right? Yeah. Oh, exactly. My God.
Which the cannabis industry did before, when we came from the legacy days, right? We had all that money and we were able to put in Prop 64 and legalize, but now we have no money. All the money's gone. And so we can't fight. So I think what he did was overall good, because it does really, shut down the problem. You're still going to have the illegal people market, and it's all going to be about enforcement. But at the same time, we need to create a better system and not continue to allow the wild, wild west to keep going. And, and when we switch from the legacy market into this regulated market, a lot of businesses, a lot of them didn't transition over. We did lose a lot of businesses at that point. And so sometimes, unfortunately, that's a necessary evil of making a change. When something gets so out of hand, we have to really put on the brakes. Now, what I didn't like about what he did in that ban was he also, for whatever reason, CDPH, California Department of Public Health, put on a maximum of 5 servings for CBD products that are sold in the normal market in California. Like, who the hell can make a 5?
What's a serving? What's a serving defined as for the California market?
Well, it would be if you say one gummy is a serving, like you tell the consumer you should take one gummy before you go to bed. This is what's going to help you. That's one serving. Okay.
Is there a maximum milligrams per gram, or?
There wasn't, not for CBD. So you could put more in there, but you could only have, only 5 servings per package. So I could package with 5 gummies, 5 sleep gummies. So I was going to go and make a hemp line of products. It is such a shit show. I am going to wait. I feel like
that's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm like, California, state after state is like shutting it down. They could change the farm bill tomorrow and say, okay, no more THC hemp allowed. And so then everybody's shut down and you invest millions of dollars and it's, and then it's gone. So where I feel like legalization, cannabis, hemp, it's going to be one in the next 5 years. I feel it in my bones. It's coming. So it's worth the wait.
So I did want to ask, just because you caught me on that with so CBD, no maximum. There's no maximum on our side either. Outside the limits of, does it operationally make sense or financial sense to continue to load? We're at 5,000 milligrams per dose now. Yeah, we need to draw the line there. But on our infused THC side, the maximum per package we're allowed is 10 milligrams. So you could put 10 gummies in a pack. So they call it eaches. You could put 10 in a pack at 1 milligram each, or you could have one. I think this one's a 1 milligram, 1 piece, 10 milligram. But the maximum, including beverages, so any edible product or ingestible product outside of your oils, etc. So an edible type is maximum 10 milligrams of THC. What is it, or is there any in California in the regulated side?
100 milligrams.
100 milligrams. Okay. I mean,
per package.
And is that per package? Per package. Okay. So, I mean, you could, yeah. And you would obviously understand this, especially being a sustainable type company, the amount of packaging waste that we have because of this is astronomical, Autumn. Like, because people will go in and I don't know how the hell they can afford it, because we've talked to many producer processors. They're like, it's not going to cost me any more necessarily to put more THC in these. If they raise the limit to 100 milligrams, I can charge the same price. The cost of manufacture for me is in the gummy, right? And I'm like, okay, so what's the next step? Because this is crazy. Someone may need to go in, like 10 milligrams may not cut it for some. So they buy 2, 3, 4. But if you're going $5 per gummy in some cases, plus package and Mylar bags, and they're floating around in the landfills, that's a major issue. And for us, at least, that's where we attack it from, is the eco-conscious side, which is, guys, there's better ways to do this. So interesting. So you've got a 100 milligram limit. CBD doesn't matter.
And where we're at now with like the hemp. So hemp is now going to be anything with hemp THC, any trace of THC with hemp in California now will enter into the cannabis market.
Okay.
So the conversation now is to develop a high-low market, or two markets. One's the high, one's the low. And so that would be where anything that's high THC over a certain level, that's also things that no one can agree on. But let's be honest, 2.5 milligrams is that's a microdose. 5 milligrams will get you high. So really, if we create a low, make it a 2.5 milligram per serving. And then that can be sold in normal places that are 21 and over, liquor stores, wine shops, anywhere that really already has the system in place for the 21 and over type of, for the consumer. However, in California, the problem that we have, and where I think the only way that that's fair, though, is if it has to be both cannabis THC and hemp THC can exit the dispensary regulated market to enter into the normal commercial market. But Prop 64 has a lot of language in there that doesn't allow for THC cannabis to leave the dispensary. So that supply chain aspect can't change. And so the only way that we can actually create a parity between hemp and cannabis, and that so we can all get along, is that both will come out of there. So right now there's a big movement to change Prop 64, bring it back to the legislature, because so many of the things in the bill leave it to the voters. And it is so expensive and so hard to keep going back to the voters to make any changes that maybe once upon a time thought it might work. Back then in 2015, 2016, that doesn't work anymore. Now that we're in real life situation and real businesses, a lot of those points and that intention needs to be modified. And so we're hoping to get that on the ballot by next November.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then maybe we can see a better compromise between the two different industries, and help the cannabis industry survive again, because it is not getting better. I felt like it was starting to get better, and now it's getting worse again, unfortunately.
Where do you see, so because it's not a matter of if anymore. So with federal legalization, do you feel it's better to allow the states to self-regulate, do your thing, you self-regulate, or is it better to have federal guideline to this is how you should be operating, this is what we're going to do with taxes? What side are you on when it comes to that?
I think it should be up to the states. I mean, every state is different. The people that live in those states are different. They want different things, right? And then the federal government, they don't have the bandwidth to take on something that's a blanket for the United States. And the United States is just huge. I mean, it's not a small one size fits all, And so I think definitely leaving it up to the states, and that allows the population and the people to really then work at their own local levels and communicate what their needs are to build up. It's a really hard thing for them to fly to Washington, D.C. or try to change something at the federal level. I mean, that's really got to be, left to people that really have that time and ability and financial, side to them where they can actually do that. So yeah, I would definitely, it still should remain with the states.
Yeah.
What they choose.
I think in doing so, and again, I'm Canadian, so what do I know? But I think it would make more sense that you can accelerate progress by letting the states do it. Because otherwise, you've already got the wheels in motion. Some things are already happening. So, at the federal level, if they all of a sudden came in and said, nope, you need to do it this way, imagine the backward movement that some of these companies, let alone, state by state, would have to change and reform in order to adhere to what the federal government would put in. So I'm curious with the change and on that. So right now you're within California. We know of, MSOs throughout the United States. Was it a conscious decision that we just want to stay here? We're going to deal with our own, we're selling fine here. We don't want to deal with any other states. Or is it just, what is the complication around being an MSO, I guess is the question.
Well, I mean, yeah, the bigger you grow, the harder you fall. And the more you lose control of all the aspects. So for us, we enjoy being, independent. We enjoy being family owned, family run, not having investors, not having anyone that can tell us what to do. We operate. We know we have our finger in everything. Now we have 4 owners, so I don't know all aspects. Like, we divide and conquer for sure. But that's the beauty of being able to be our size. We are not small. We are not Goliaths. We are just medium and in the middle, which feels really good to us because we're able still to have that control that we want, but we are able to still innovate and grow, and we still have capital to be able to do more. But MSOs have their place too. I mean, they're the ones that have been able to finance rescheduling. Cresco was definitely at the forefront of that, and some of the other bigger ones as well. I mean, they're the ones who have really put time and money into that. So I'm really grateful to them. I think there's a lot of small farmers that hate everybody that's bigger, and that, and when it becomes federally legal, then it's, done for everybody else. But I think there's always room for craft farms, and for family owned businesses. You just got to be unique in what you're doing and be able to pivot, at a moment's notice and continue to innovate. So I'm not scared of MSOs or bigger companies. That's never been a problem for me. If I can learn from them, great. If not, I'm not looking towards what they're doing. I'm normally just staying focused on what are our values, what feels good to us, what feels good to the consumer, where's a gap in the market, how do we fill that, how do we make products that we also love, that our friends, our family, our community. California, which is the epicenter of health and wellness, that's where those kind of brands are born. So that's really, what makes us and allows us to enjoy what we're doing almost every day.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think people, again, it's typically on the craft side that we see it, even in Canada. They're against the big dominant players, right? So in the States, because, I work stateside a little bit with, don't kill me for it, but it was when we were acquired by Aquire, which was MJ Freeway, and I'm dealing with, right? So, but it was GTI, Clever Leaves, and some of the big dominant players there. And we have those types of companies in Canada as well. And typically your smaller micro type companies or craft companies are hard on them. They're, our organograms and Auroras and Tilrays. And it's like, you need those giants in some cases. They're a necessary evil, no matter which way you look at it, because they're the ones that will challenge the regulator. Perfect example being Organogram. They got in trouble over this jolt. It wasn't edible, but it wasn't an edible. And Health Canada said, you can't do that. And they said, you want to bet? We'll take you to court. And we've got the pockets to do so. So we'll go there, right? It ruled against. But the thing is that it created conversation and it made news. And, it started to change things in a positive light, where without them and those deep, deep pockets to be able to do so, we may not see the change that we need in this industry. So yeah, I get it. And M&A, what's the future look like? I don't know. But on that, I am curious. We'll leave our audience with this. What does the future look like for Autumn Brands?
Oh, bright and sunny.
Right. And so you're in California, jealous.
It does get a little foggy here sometimes being on the coast, but
yeah.
but
rub it in. Just keep rubbing it in.
For us, like I said, being self-funded, my partner owns the property. We are here for the long run. We've proven to be very good at pivoting on a moment's notice when a ball drops, either brand-wise, regulatory-wise, whatever it is. So for us, we're going to continue to expand our flower product lines, really paying attention to what the consumer wants. We've already launched an infused pre-roll this year, 28-gram glass jar flower, that intimate wellness line of products that I mentioned. We have a few other form factors for pre-rolls that we're really going to bring out as well this year. I want to really go deeper with more products for pain relief and muscle repair, which is what our topical already does. So it's been hard to make something else because it's really like this perfect one-stop shop, that's an amazing product. And now I'm ready to start branching out into other states. So I'm having the conversation with numerous people in different states to bring our self-care line of products and our pain relieving topical to other states in the regulated market. And if we can find a zero pesticide cultivator out there in the United States, then I'd love to do a licensing deal as well with them. We just haven't come across them yet. But for us, the most important thing is flower that is pesticide free. And so we can't really go against what that is. And so
of course,
that partner, really just moving the manufactured products, which is something much easier to kind of find. That'll be our focus. But I'm excited to do more. Like I said, I was excited to kind of go in the hemp side of product line so I could really get the brand out there and touch the consumer in more states. But I think it's too much of a hot mess and too many unknowns. And I feel like federal legalization is just on the cusp, and it's worth waiting and doing it right. So that is definitely in the future, but in the near future, and being able to sell throughout the United States, and then hopefully in Canada one day.
There you go. Well, and I think that's the thing is, it's going to take at the federal level. That has to happen, number one, and then we'll see, right? We do have U.S. brand presence here, but as you know, it's only the brand. That's literally it. So similar to the challenges you see right now, state to state, you need to find someone that can produce in those states. In Canada, it could be a U.S. brand like Jeter or Cookies and a couple other different ones that are here, but all the product is produced here. They just brought the brand in. That's all they've done. Yeah. Well, listen, Autumn, it's been awesome spending this time with you. I'm so happy to have been schooled and corrected when it comes to understanding what happened with the hemp in California. But we really appreciate you joining Legacies. It's been very insightful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I love this. This was so much fun.
Breadstack e-commerce. It might be time to upgrade.
All right. Well, I'm taking back everything I ever said bad about Gavin Newton. I know his last name's not Newton. And I'm actually not taking back everything bad I've ever said about him. There's still some things I disagree with, but I'm glad that Autumn was able to set the record straight. I had no idea. You don't see, this is the problem. We don't get the context half the time, right? It's always media bias and what's getting reported that way.
It's nice to see too. It's, I think we get the impression a lot that California and stuff has it all peachy, and even Colorado and some of these other states.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, not that it's nice to see, but it's comforting to relate to, they are struggling as well. It's not just us struggling in different ways, obviously. Like, we take those tax rates any day of the week, obviously. But
yeah, that's easy. I was like completely, I'm like, and 35%. Yes. Okay. We'll take that. But you're right. I think it's, we see certain advantages to operating in the US, mostly around regulation, where they can sell it, what they have, that sort of stuff. But, or marketing especially, I think, because we live that world so much. But, out of the gate for Autumn and team to state, we need to do $500 pounds. We need to be able to do that. That's crazy. Like, there is no operator in Canada, I think, that out of the gate would have thought we need to produce a $500 pound. I know everyone wanted to drive the price down per gram. That's what they were all, especially the Van Herens. I mean, Bill Van Haren, the old boy, like he's like, I need to get the price down to 35 cents a gram. And I'm like, oh, how the hell for premium quality product? I'm like, so cogens and all these things going on. But anyways, super informative. I love having American guests on that can speak to that, because we just we can't spend the time that we would want, as we do in the Canadian industry, and digging in and understanding the challenges as we can in the US. We just, we don't have enough time in the day. But anyways, great episode. Loved having Katie on, loved having had Autumn on. Yeah, man, it just makes you, there's still hope in this industry. There's still some there, glimmers and flickers on and off like a neon sign sometimes. But anyways, a good episode, I think.
Yeah, good episode. And we'll see you at the Tether event next week.
So we're recording, and then, yeah, that's going to be interesting for you. That's a good thing. It's a shorter event.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you're close to Hamilton, so Dundas isn't too far for you. But I'll basically have to do tear down, and off I go. That's the only way I'm going to be able to pull it off. But I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk about that. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next week on Legacies.